Hi BG soulmates, welcome back again to my channel. I am Grace, and in today's video we'll be showing you how to create this really cute beginner friendly shared dress. And one thing I love about this dress, as you could already see in the video, is the option for a side slit or no side slits, using a zip to close it up just in case you aren't feeling it that day. And obviously you could also adjust the length of your slits by just drawing the zip down or up or anything like that. And it's a midi length with its shared bodies and an adjustable tie strap as well as pockets. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into the video. So I already cut out the pieces. So what you're going to do is to fold the top edge twice using 1/4 of an inch. I'm folding it first using 1/4 of an inch, and I'll fold it again using 1/4 of an inch. So as I fold, I iron it down in place just so I don't have to use a pin. Then I just sew it down. So this pattern comes with three long pieces like this, two for the front and one for the back. So you're going to do the same step to the two other pieces. So once you're done sewing that up, you're going to align. There is a small notch mark on your pattern, so you're going to align that notch on the seam sewn already. Then you start transferring the shear lines to your fabric. So you're going to transfer the shear lines to the right side of your fabric, because when you are shearing, the elastic thread is usually in the bobbin area, which is at the bottom, and you use irregular thread for the top part. So because the elastic thread is at the bottom, you want the wrong side of your fabric to face downwards and the right side of your fabric to face upwards. Okay, so after transferring the marks, I'm just going to draw a line connecting both marks, and you're going to repeat the same step to the other fabrics as well. So after doing that, it's time for you to start shearing. So prior to me doing that, I went to wind about 4 or 5 bobbins. People recommend you using your hand to do this, but if I'm being all honest, I use my sewing machine. I don't think I have the patience to wind so many bobbins manually. So after doing that, you're just going to start shearing. As you could see in the video, once I get to the end, rather than just cutting off the thread, I just flip the fabric over and continue sewing. So you do this till you get to the end of the shearing process. So this is a very cute and simple dress. I feel like the only part that was way too tasking for me testing my patience was the shearing process, which is this process right here. But other than that, I absolutely loved the whole making process of this dress. So after shearing it, you're just going to iron the shearing portion down like so, and you repeat the same steps to the other fabrics as well. So now that we're done doing that, it's time for us to create the slits in front. So you're going to place right sides of the front pieces together like so, and you're going to pin it from the top to the zip to the side slit notch created in the pattern. So after doing that, you're just going to sew it from top to that notch using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So after doing that, the next step is to insert the pocket. So I'm going down 10 inches from the top and marking it right there, and just place my pocket there. So you have the pocket and the fabric pieces facing each other, having right sides facing each other, and you're just going to pin it down, sew it down in place. And after sewing it down, you're going to pretty much top stitch the pockets to the seam allowance. So the next step is to sew in the zip. So what I'm going to do is pretty much just create a mark on the fabric first, then also create a mark on the zip, so that when I'm placing the zip onto the fabric, I have it aligned so that one side of the zip on the fabric isn't longer than the other side. I hope I'm making sense. So that's just kind of like a guide for me. I mean, you could do however you want, but this just works for me. So I initially created one mark, but I felt like it was too high, so I went down a bit by about a half an inch. Then I'm just going to place right sides of the zip and the fabric together, and I'm going to baste it in place. I actually prefer basting rather than pinning it down, because I've noticed that when I baste, the zip doesn't move when I sew, as opposed to when I pin it down. So now that I'm done basting one side, I just pretty much go ahead to just create a knot at the end to prevent it from loosening. Then we go ahead to do the same thing to the other side. So when you want to sew this to the other side, you're just going to flip the zip, as you can see me do in the video, and don't forget to align the notches as well. Then just baste it, and this is what you'll have. So you go ahead to just sew them down in place. So after sewing the zip in place, this is what you'll have. As you can see, you already have an invisible zip closed, and this is what it looks like opened. So now that we are done with that, we'll go on to the next step. So for the next step, you're going to place the front and the back dress pieces together, and you're going to sew the sides from top to bottom using a half an inch seam allowance. So now that that is done, the next step is to sew the strap. So you're going to fold the strap into two like so, and you sew it down using a half an inch seam allowance. So obviously sewing the strap is optional, just in case you want a tubed up version of the dress. So yeah. So after doing that, you're just going to create a notch there. So after creating the notch on the side, you're just going to move that notch created to the center, so you have the notch and the seam line aligned. Then you're just going to sew it down using a half an inch seam allowance, and you're only doing this step to one side of the strap. The other side is going to be left open, so that when you turn this right side out, you have a place it will come out from. Okay, so now I'm just going to turn this right side out using this pen right here, and this is what you'll have. I'm just going to bring pretty much bring out the edges. I should have poked it out, but yeah, I didn't think about that. After doing that, you're just going to iron it, and after ironing it, you're just going to trim off the raw edges right there. You could zigzag it or use a serger, but I forgot to do that step. So after doing that, the next step is to pretty much prevent this zip from just moving around when you have the slit open. And in order for me to do that, I went ahead to use this hemming tape or hemming gum, depending on how you call it. So what you're going to do is to place that in between the zip or seam allowance and the dress fabric like so. I am going to just iron it down. You press it down and iron it down, because that way the hemming tape melts in between the two fabrics, and it's pretty much going to stay like that. So you're going to do this from the top to the bottom of the dress, then go ahead to just iron it from the right side, just make it neat. Now that we're done with that, this is what you'll have. As you can see, it's no longer moving around because that can look so unprofessional. So after you're done doing that, you pretty much repeat the same step to the other side of the zip. So now that we've done that, this is what it looks like, and that is pretty much good to go. So now we're going to hem the dress, and you're going to fold it first using a 1/2 inch, then fold it again using a 3/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm just showing you up close. So I went ahead to fold it first using a 1/2 inch. As you can see, I'm taking the measurement just to show you guys. Then you fold it again using 3/4 inch, and this is what you'll have. And I'm taking the measurement again just to be sure. Then you iron it down, then sew it down in place. So now for the final step, at this point you pretty much want to try your dress on if you haven't already, and after you're done trying it on, you figure out where you want to have your straps placed at, then you pin it down in front. Then after you do that, you take off the dress and you pretty much do the same thing to the back. So the front, the strap placement in front is going to be your guide for the back strap placement. Then you pin it down. After pinning it down, you just sew it down in place using a straight stitch, and your dress is pretty much good to go. So this is the final result of this dress. So yeah, this is pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in getting the pattern, the link is in the description box for you to check out. I absolutely love this. I got so many compliments when I wore this out, and it's something you're interested in, click the link in the description box, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.